Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhule Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Devi Cha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavan Abhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Namo Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swa Dadanti Kam. Behind me is Srila Prabhupada's book, so I should be out distributing them. Once upon a time I would have been. And I don't know what's come over me in my old age. But we have to read them also. So we're going on with Nectar Devotion. This is chapter 29, Expressions of Love for Krishna. This section is madness. In this case, madness means like insanity, not necessarily anger, although anger is insanity. Srila Bivamangal Thakur prays in his book as follows: Let Srimati Radharani purify the whole world, because she has surrendered herself completely unto Krishna. Out of her ecstatic love for him, she sometimes acted just like a addled person in the temple to churn yogurt, but there was no yogurt in the pot. And seeing this, Krishna became so enchanted by Radharani that he began to milk a bull instead of a cow. These are some of the instances of insanity or madness in connection with the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is said that when Krishna entered the poisonous waters of the Yamuna, Srimati Yashoda Devi went insane. Instead of searching for curative herbs, she began to speak to the trees as if they were snake charmers. With folded hands, she began to bow down to the trees, asking them, "What is the medicinal herb which can check Krishna's dying from this poisonous water?" This is an instance of insanity caused by some great danger. How a devotee can be in a state of insanity because of ecstatic love is described in the 10th canto, 13th chapter, verse 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein the gopis were searching for Krishna in the forest of Vrindavan. The gopis were loudly singing the glories of Krishna and wandering from one forest to another in search of him. They knew that Krishna is not localized, but all-pervading. He is in the sky, he's in the water, he's in the air, and he is the supersoul in everyone's heart. Thus the gopis began to inquire from all kinds of trees and plants about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is an instance of ecstatic madness on the part of the devotees. Similarly, there are symptoms of diseases caused by ecstatic love. This condition is credited by learned scholars as being Mahabhava. This highly elevated condition is also called Divyonmada, or transcendental madness. Forgetfulness. When Krishna was absent from Vrindavan, he was staying in Mathura. Srimati Radharani sent news to him that his mother, the Queen of Braj, was feeling such separation from him that there was foam coming from her mouth, like the foam on the shore of the ocean. And sometimes she was raising her arms like the waves of the ocean, and because of her intense feelings of separation, she was rolling on the ground and creating tumultuous, roaring sound. And sometimes she was remaining completely silent, like a calm sea. These symptoms of separation from Krishna are called apasmara, or forgetfulness. One completely forgets his position when he manifests these symptoms of ecstatic love. Another message was once sent to Krishna, informing him that after he had killed Kamsa, one of Kamsa's demon friends had gone insane. This demon was foaming in the mouth, waving his arms and rolling on the ground. This demoniac demonstration is in relation to Krishna with a ghastly humor. This mellow or flavor is one of the indirect relationships with Krishna. The first 5 kinds of relationship are called direct, and the other 7 are called indirect. Some way or other, the demon must have had some relationship with Krishna, because these symptoms developed when he heard that Krishna had already killed Kamsa. Srila Rupa Goswami remarks that there is also transcendental excellence in this kind of symptom, disease. When Krishna was absent from Vrindavan and was staying at Mathura, some of his friends informed him, "Dear Krishna, because of their separation from you, the inhabitants of Braja are so afflicted that they appear to be diseased. Their bodies are feverish. They cannot move properly. They are simply lying down on the ground and breathing heavily." In the 10th canto, 12th chapter, verse 44 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit asked about Lord Ananta, and upon hearing his question, Sukadeva Goswami began to show symptoms of collapsing. Yet he checked himself and answered the king. Parikshit's question in a mild voice. This collapsing condition is described as feverish state resulting from ecstatic pleasure. There's another statement in Srimad Bhagavatam telling of the damsels of Braja meeting Krishna at the sacred place of Kurukshetra many years after their childhood pastimes. When they met in that sacred place, all the gopis became stunned by the occurrences of the solar eclipse. Their breathing, blinking of the eyes, and all similar activities stopped, and they stood before Krishna like statues. This is another instance of a disease condition resulting from exuberant transcendental pleasure. Now, chapter 30, further features of ecstatic love for Krishna. Confusion. This is the following statement in the Hamsa Duta. One day when Srimati Radharani was feeling much affliction because of her separation from Krishna, she went to the bank of the Jamuna with some of her friends. There Radharani saw a cottage where she and Krishna had experienced many loving pleasures, and by remembering these incidences, she immediately became overcome with dizziness. This dizziness was very prominently visible. This is an instance of confusion caused by separation. Similarly, there is a statement describing confusion caused by fearfulness. These symptoms are exhibited by Arjuna when he saw Krishna's universal form on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. His confusion was so strong that his bow and arrow fell from his hand and he could not perceive anything clearly. Death. Once the Bakasura demon assumed the shape of a very big heron and opened his mouth in order to swallow Krishna and all the cowherd boys. When Krishna was entering into the demon's mouth, Balaram and the other cowherd boys almost fainted and appeared as though they had no life. Even if devotees are illusioned by some ghastly scene or by any accidental occurrence, they never forget Krishna. Even in the greatest danger, they can remember Krishna. This is the benefit of Krishna consciousness. Even at the time of death, when all the functions of the body become dislocated, the devotees can remember Krishna in his innermost consciousness, and this saves him from falling down in material existence. In this way, Krishna consciousness immediately takes one from the material existence, immediately takes one from the material platform to the spiritual world. In this connection, there is a statement about persons who died at Mathura. These persons had a slight breathing exhilaration. Their eyes were wide open. The colors of their bodies were changed, and they began to utter the holy name of Krishna. In this condition, they gave up their material bodies. These symptoms are prior manifestations of death. Laziness. When because of self-satisfaction or dislike of excessive labor, a person does not perform his duty in spite of having the energy, he is called lazy. This laziness is manifested in ecstatic love for Krishna. For example, when some brahmanas were requested by Nanda Maharaj to circumambulate Govardhan Hill, this is an instance of laziness caused by self-satisfaction. Once when Krishna, along with his cowherd friends, was having a mock battle, Subal showed the symptoms of fatigue. Krishna immediately told his other friends, "Subal is feeling too fatigued from mock fighting with me, so please do not disturb him any more by inviting him to fight." This is an instance of laziness caused by dislike of excessive labor. Inertness. In the 10th canto, 21st chapter, verse 13 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is an appreciation by the gopis of the inertia of the cows in Vrindavan. The gopis saw that the cows were hearing the sweet songs vibrated by Krishna's flute and were appearing to be drinking the nectar of these transcendental sounds. The calves were stunned and they forgot to drink the milk from the milk bags. Their eyes seemed to be embracing Krishna, and there were tears in their eyes. This is an instance of inertia resulting from hearing the transcendental vibrations of Krishna's flute. When Lakshman became disturbed upon hearing words against Krishna, Lakshmana, that's the wife of Krishna, she remained inert and did not move her eyelids. This is another example of inertia caused by hearing. In 10th canto, 71st chapter, verse 39 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is an account of King Yudhishthira's bewilderment after his bringing Krishna into his home with the greatest respect. King Yudhishthira was very much bewildered because of his transcendental pleasure at having Krishna present in his house. In fact, while receiving Krishna, King Yudhishthira forgot himself. This is an instance of inertia resulting from the ecstasy of seeing Krishna. There's another instance in the 10th canto, 39th chapter, verse 36 of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna was going to Mathura. All the gopis were standing behind Krishna, and upon seeing the chariot leaving, they stood there stunned and did not move. They remained like that until the flag of the chariot and the dust thrown up by its wheels became invisible. Krishna was thus once addressed by his friend like this: "My dear Mukunda, due to their being separated from you, the cowherd boys are standing just like neglected deities in the house of a professional brahmana." There is a class of professional brahmanas who take to deity worship as a means of earning their livelihood. Brahmins in this class are not very interested in the deity. They are interested mainly in the money they can earn as holy men. So the deities are worshipped by such professional Brahmins are not properly decorated. Their dress is not changed, and their bodies are not clean. They look dirty and are not very attractive. Actually, deity worship should be done very carefully, and dress should be changed daily, and as far as possible there should be ornaments. Everything should be so clean that the deity is attractive to all visitors. Here the example is given of the deities in the house of the professional Brahmin, because such deities are not at all attractive. The friends of Krishna in the absence of Krishna were appearing just like neglected deities. Bashfulness. When Radharani was first introduced to Krishna, she felt very bashful. One of her friends addressed her in this way: My dear friend, you have already sold yourself and all your beauty to Govinda. Now you should not be bashful. Please look upon him cheerfully. One who has sold an elephant to another person should not make a miserly quarrel about selling the trident which controls the elephant. This kind of bashfulness is due to new introduction of ecstatic love for Krishna. The heavenly king Indra, upon being defeated in his fight with Krishna for possession of the Parijata flower, became very bashful because of his defeat. He was standing before Krishna, bowing down his head, when Krishna said, "All right, Indra, you can take this Parijata flower. Otherwise, you will not be able to show your face before your wife, Sachi Devi." Indra's bashfulness was due to defeat. In another instance, Krishna began to praise Uddhava for his various high qualifications. Upon being praised by Krishna, Uddhava also bowed down his head bashfully. In the Harivamsa, Satyabhama, feeling slighted by Rukmini's high position, said, "My dear Krishna, the Raivataka mountain is always full of spring flowers. But when I have become persona non grata to you, what is the use of my observing them?" This is an instance of bashfulness resulting from being defeated. Concealment. There is a symptom of ecstatic love known as concealment, or trying to hide one's real mental condition by externally showing another attitude. In this state of mind, one tries to hide his mind by looking away in different directions, by unnecessarily trying for something which is impossible, or by using words which cover one's real thoughts. According to the Acharyas, expert in the study of psychological activities, these attempts at hiding one's real affection are another part of ecstatic feeling for Krishna. In the 10th canto, 32nd chapter, verse 15 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami states, "My dear king, the gopis were always beautiful and decorated with confidential smiles and alluring garments. In their movements intended to give impetus to lusty feelings, they would sometimes press Krishna's hand on their laps, and sometimes they would keep his lotus feet on their breasts. After doing this, they would talk with Krishna as if they were angry with him." There's another instance of concealment in ecstatic love, when Krishna, the supreme joker, planted the Parijata tree in the courtyard of Satyabhama. Rukmini, the daughter of King Vidarbha, became very angry, but due to her natural gentle behavior, she did not express anything. No one could understand Rukmini's real mental condition. This is an instance of competitive concealment. There's another instance in the first canto 8, 11th chapter, verse 32. It's amazing how they can give all these exact references. All in their mind. After entering Dwarka, Krishna was received in different ways by different members of his family. Upon seeing their husband from a distance, the queens of Dwarka immediately embraced him within their minds and slowly glanced over him. As Krishna came nearer, they pushed their sons forward to embrace him. Others were trying out of shyness not to shed tears, but they still could not keep the tears from gliding down. This is an instance of concealment caused by shyness. On another occasion, when Srimati Radharani thought that Krishna was involved with another woman, she addressed her friend in this manner, "My dear friend, as soon as I think of Krishna the coward boy attached to some woman, I become stricken with fear and the hairs on my body stand up. I must be very careful that Krishna not see me at such times." This is an instance of concealment caused by shyness and diplomatic behavior. It has been stated that Srimati Rani developed a deep loving attraction for Krishna. She hid her attitude in the core of her heart so that others could not detect her actual condition. This is an instance of concealment caused by gentleness. Once when Krishna and his cowherd friends were enjoying friendly conversation, Krishna began to address his associates in casual language. At that time, Krishna's servant Patri was also enjoying the conversation. But then, remembering his position of servitude, he bowed his head before his master, and with great respect and control, he stifled his smiling. This is subdued smiling is an instance of concealment caused by a respectful attitude. Remembrance. There are many symptoms of ecstatic love caused by remembering Krishna. For example, one friend of Krishna informed him, "My dear Mukunda, just after observing a bluish cloud in the sky, the lotus-eyed Radharani immediately began to remember you. And simply by observing this cloud, she became lusty for your association." This is an instance of remembering Krishna in ecstatic love because of seeing something resembling him. Krishna's bodily complexion is very similar to the bluish hue of the cloud. So simply by observing a bluish cloud, Radharani remembered him. One devotee said that even when he was not very attentive, he would sometimes remember the lotus feet of Krishna within his heart. This is an instance of remembrance resulting from constant practice. In other words, the devotees who are constantly thinking of the lotus feet of Krishna, even if they are momentarily inattentive, will see the figure of Lord Krishna appearing within their hearts. Argumentativeness. Madhamangal was an intimate friend of Krishna, coming from the Brahmin community. Krishna's friends were mostly cowherd boys belonging to the Vaishya community, but there were others who belonged to the Brahmin community. Actually, in Vrindavan, the Vaishya community and the Brahmin community are considered prominent. This Madhamangal one day addressed Krishna in this fashion: "My dear friend, I can see that you are not aware of the peacock feathers that are falling on the ground, and at the same time you are unmindful of the flower garlands which are offered to you. I think I can guess the reason for your absent-mindedness when I see your two eyes flying over the eyes of Srimati Radharani, just like the black drones flying to the lotus flowers." This is an instance of an argumentativeness suggestion in ecstatic love. Once while Krishna was out walking, one of the associates of Radharani told her, "My dear friend, do you think that this walking personality is a tumultuary? If he is a tumultuary, then how is it possible for him to walk and be so beautiful? Then, this personality might be a cloud. But if he's a cloud, where is a beautiful moon within? Under the circumstances, I think it may be granted that this person is the same enchanting personality of Godhead by whose flute vibration the three worlds are captivated. He must be the same Mukunda who is standing before Govardhan Hill." This is another instance of an argumentative presentation of ecstatic love. Anxiety. In the 10th canto, 9th chapter, verse 29 of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna asked all the gopis to go back to their home, they did not like it. Because of their grief at this time, they were sighing heavily, and their beautiful faces appeared to be drying up. In this condition, they remained without making a sound. They began to draw lines on the ground with their toes, and with their tears they washed the black ointment from their eyes onto their breasts, which were covered with red kumkum powder. This is an instance of anxiety and ecstatic love. One of the friends of Krishna once informed him, "My dear killer of the demon Mura, your kind and gentle mother is very anxious because you have not returned home, and with great difficulty she has passed that evening constantly sitting on the balcony of your home. It is certainly astonishing how you could forget your mother while you were off somewhere engaged in your playful activities." This is another instance of deep anxiety and ecstatic love. When Mother Yasoda was very anxiously waiting for Krishna to return from Mathura, Maharaj Nanda gave her this solace: My dear Yasoda, please don't be worried. Please dry your beautiful lotus-like face. There's no need for you to breathe so hotly. I will go immediately with the Krura to the palace of Kamsa and get our son back for you. Here's an instance of anxiety and ecstatic love caused by Krishna's awkward position. Thoughtfulness. In the Vaishaka Mahatmya section of the Padma Purana, the devotee states that though in some of the 18 Puranas the process of glorifying Lord Vishnu is not mentioned, and the glorification of some demigod is offered, such glorification must be continued for 10 million years. For when one studies the Puranas very scrutinizing, he can see that ultimately Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is an instance of ecstatic love developed out of thoughtfulness. In the 10th canto, the 16th chapter, verse 39 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's an account of Rukmini Devi's writing a letter to Krishna requesting her to kidnap her before her marriage to another person. At that time, the specific attachment of Rukmini for Krishna was expressed by Rukmini as follows. My dear Lord Krishna, your transcendental glories are chanted by great My dear Lord, your transcendental glories are chanted by great sages who are free from material contamination. And in exchange for such glorification, you are so kind that you freely distribute yourself to such devotees. As long as one can elevate himself simply by your grace, so also by your direction alone, one may be lost to all benedictions under the influence of eternal time. Therefore, I have selected your lordship as my husband, brushing aside personalities like Brahma and Indra, not to mention others. Rukmini enhanced her love for Krishna simply by thinking of him. This is an instance of thoughtfulness and ecstatic love. Endurance. When a person is fully satisfied due to attaining knowledge, transcending all distress or achieving his desired goal of life. In transcendental devotional service to God, his state of endurance is called mindedness, is called dhiti. In this stage, one is not perturbed by any amount of loss, nor does anything appear to be unachieved by him. According to the opinion of Bhartrihari, a learned scholar, when a person is elevated to this state of endurance, he thinks as follows: I do not wish to be highly posted in government serving. I shall prefer to remain naked without proper garments. I shall prefer to lie down on the ground without any mattress. And despite all these disadvantages, I shall refuse to serve anyone, even the government. In other words, when one is in ecstatic love with the personality of Godhead, he can endure all kinds of disadvantages calculated under the material concept of life. Nanda Maharaj, the father of Krishna, used to think, in my pasturing gown, the goddess of fortune is personally present, and I possess more than 100,000 cows, which loiter here and there. And above all, I have a son like Krishna, who is such a powerful, wonderful worker. Therefore, even though I'm a householder, I'm feeling so satisfied. This is an instance of mental endurance resulting from the absence of all distress. In another instance, a devotee says, I'm always swimming in the nectarine ocean of the pastimes of the personality of Godhead, and as such I have no more attraction for religious rituals economic development, sense gratification, or even the ultimate salvation emerging into the existence of Brahman. This is an instance of the mind's endurance due to achieving the best thing in the world. The best thing in the world is absorption in Krishna consciousness. Okay, I'm going to stop. It's 30-some minutes. The next section is happiness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Mahamuni. Tamaha. Saksi Gopal. Okay, thank you all.